Have you ever sadly tossed out a wilted bunch of greens or a shriveled bell pepper that never quite made it into your salad? Such a waste, isn't it? But what if I told you every single one of those vegetables could have been saved, transformed into a culinary masterpiece that would bring joy to your plate, even in the dead of winter? Today, we'll once and for all figure out which preservation method, freezing, drying, or canning, is best suited for each type of vegetable. I promise you, after this video, you'll be a home preservation pro, and your fridge and pantry will transform into a treasure trove of delicious flavors. Let's take a brief trip down memory lane. Home preserving isn't just your grandma's old recipes. It's an ancient art of survival. Before refrigerators existed, people learned to harness the power of the sun, salt, and fire to preserve their harvest. Drying is one of the oldest methods, intensifying flavors and allowing food to be stored for years. Canning or pickling in vinegar and salt was a true game changer. And modern freezing? It's essentially a high-tech way to pause time for nutrients. So, the next time you pop open a jar of pickles, remember, you're tapping into centuries of history. All right, let's embark on our grand journey into the world of food preservation. Our first stop, of course, is freezing. It's undoubtedly the queen of convenience and speed. In our hectic pace of life, it's the simplest and quickest way to capture a bit of summer. Consider this: minimal prep, no jars, no complicated marinades. Often all you need to do is wash, chop, and bag. So, what's the main secret behind its popularity? Freezing is like a time machine for food. It literally halts all processes, locking in freshness, vibrant color, and most importantly, the majority of vitamins inside the vegetable. Imagine this: a snowstorm rages outside, and you pull a bag of summer bell peppers from the freezer, still smelling of sunshine. That's the true magic of freezing. Unlike canning, where high temperatures can destroy some valuable nutrients, freezing is a far gentler process. It keeps food in its near-original state. This is precisely why frozen vegetables retain so many of the qualities of fresh produce. But, like any queen, freezing has its quirks and secrets. And to think you can just toss any vegetable into the freezer and expect great results would be a major misconception. It's precisely these nuances we're about to explore. Hold on a minute before you excitedly stash all your freshly picked produce in the freezer. Let's quickly define the blacklist. Those vegetables for which freezing isn't a solution, but a true death sentence. And the main culprit here: water. Picture a crisp cucumber, a crunchy lettuce leaf, juicy radishes, or a fresh celery stalk. What do they all have in common? Exactly. They're over 90% water. Now recall your high school physics. Water expands when it freezes. Inside the vegetable's delicate cell walls, sharp ice crystals form. These crystals, like millions of tiny needles, simply tear apart its delicate structure from the inside out. So, what's the final outcome? After thawing, instead of a firm, vibrant vegetable, you'll have a sad, watery, and utterly lifeless mass on your plate. That appealing crunch and its original shape will be gone without a trace. So, remember this simple rule. If a vegetable is very juicy, and you value it specifically for its fresh, crisp texture, the freezer, unfortunately, is a definite no-go. It will simply destroy everything you love about it. Now let's talk about those vegetables for whom the freezer is a true 5-star resort. There are some veggies that seem almost tailor-made for freezing. They handle the cold beautifully, barely losing their shape, flavor, or, most importantly, their nutritional value. These winter kitchen heroes should be a staple in everyone's freezer. First on this list are, of course, green beans and young green peas. Their firm structure holds up perfectly to freezing, and their flavor can even become a little sweeter after thawing. Just imagine, in the depths of winter, you simply toss a handful of vibrant peas into your soup or stew, and the dish is instantly transformed. Next up are the cruciferous stars, broccoli and cauliflower. Once separated into florets, they become the ultimate convenience food. You won't need to wash or chop a thing. Just grab them from the freezer and straight into your pan, steamer, or pot. And my personal favorite, bell peppers. They are simply champions of convenience. Slice them into strips, or dice them, portion them into bags, and you'll always have a ready-made addition for pizza, pasta, or stir-fries. The best part is, they barely lose their flavor or aroma. These vegetables are your winter lifesavers, saving you loads of time and adding a splash of summer color to any meal. Now, here is a little secret that separates the true pros from the amateurs. This secret might sound a bit scientific, but in practice it's incredibly simple. We're talking about blanching, and don't let that word intimidate you. Essentially, it's just a brief shock for your vegetables. You quickly dunk them into boiling water for 1 to 2 minutes, and then immediately plunge them into an ice bath to halt the cooking process. So why bother with all this, you might ask? It's all about the unseen enemies of your harvest, enzymes. These are compounds that, even in the freezer, slowly but surely continue their destructive work. They compromise the color, flavor, and texture of your vegetables over time. They're the reason broccoli turns a dull olive green, and green beans lose their delightful snap. This is where blanching comes in. It entirely deactivates these enzymes. This simple step ensures your vegetables retain their vibrant, appetizing color and firmness even after 6 months of storage. It's your key to restaurant-quality frozen vegetables. Don't skip this step, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by the results. But enough about our frosty queen for a moment. Let's turn our attention to the oldest, and arguably the most aromatic, preservation method, drying. While freezing attempts to lock in the moment's freshness, drying is true culinary alchemy. It's more than just dehydrating. It's a profound process of concentration. Unlike freezing, drying doesn't merely suspend time. Instead, it gently evaporates all that's superfluous, leaving behind only the pure essence, the very heart of the produce, its concentrated flavor and deep aroma. Imagine, just a tiny pinch of dried herbs can utterly transform an entire dish, filling your kitchen with the evocative scents of summer. This method might not preserve the original texture, but it bestows upon ingredients something entirely new, a depth and richness that simply can't be achieved through any other means. It's the perfect choice for true gourmets, and anyone who appreciates food not just for its nutritional value, but for its vibrant, unforgettable notes. It's a way to capture the very essence of summer, to seal it away in a little jar so that later, in the depths of winter, with a mere flick of the wrist, you can bring the warmth and sunny aromas of those golden days right back into your kitchen. So, which ingredients truly shine, becoming concentrated powerhouses of flavor when dried? Let's explore which foods truly transform into culinary treasures once they've been dehydrated. And the undisputed king of dehydration, of course, is the tomato. A fresh tomato is good, but a dried one, that's pure culinary magic. Its flavor intensifies, becoming incredibly rich, tangy sweet, with hints of caramel. Add them to salads, pastas, or simply drench them in olive oil with herbs, and you'll have a gourmet delicacy that commands top dollar in restaurants. Next up on our list, mushrooms. Drying fully unlocks their deep, earthy, forest-like aroma, often described as umami, the elusive fifth taste. Just a few dried porcini mushrooms ground into a powder can elevate any soup or sauce, making it infinitely more flavorful than fresh button mushrooms. And of course, we can't forget herbs and hot peppers, dill, parsley, basil, oregano. Once dried, they transform into potent, concentrated seasonings, ready to enhance your cooking all year long, and dried chilies develop a more complex, often smoky aroma. Drying is truly your passport to a world of intense, concentrated flavors that will revolutionize your everyday cooking. So, you've decided to become a flavor alchemist, but how do you go about the drying process properly? Well, you have several methods at your disposal, from the most traditional to the most modern. The first method is the good old-fashioned way, air drying, out in the sun. It's the most natural and most budget-friendly option. You simply string your produce onto a thread, or spread it out on a mesh rack in a well-ventilated area, protected from direct sunlight and insects. This method is perfect for hot, dry climates, but it does require patience and is, of course, at the mercy of the weather. The second, more versatile option is your standard kitchen oven. You set it to its lowest temperature, typically around 50-60 degrees Celsius, crack the door slightly for air circulation, and then patiently wait. It's more reliable than sun drying, but it demands constant supervision and will tie up your oven for many hours. Finally, for the true enthusiasts, there's the dedicated appliance, a food dehydrator. Essentially, it's a smart little cabinet equipped with a fan and a heating element designed to create optimal conditions for consistent and even drying. It delivers the most predictable and highest quality results, preserving the maximum color and flavor. Whichever method you choose, the outcome is the same. You'll have your very own concentrated taste of summer. All right, so we've covered freezing, we've talked about drying, and now it's time to bring out the heavy artillery. We're moving on to canning, or, as it's more commonly known, pickling and fermenting. If freezing is about preserving freshness and drying concentrates flavor, then canning is a true culinary transformation. It's a way not just to save your vegetables, but to imbue them with an entirely new, vibrant, and bold character. This method is for those who love their preserves with a distinctive twist, with a piquant zest. It's for those who value not only the nutritional benefits, but also exciting and memorable gastronomic experiences. A crisp dill pickle, spicy fermented cabbage, sweet and tangy pickled tomatoes. These aren't just foods. They're a true emotion, a taste that takes you back to childhood. What's more, canning is unbeatable when it comes to long-term storage. A properly sealed jar can easily sit in your pantry for a year, or even 2, without losing any of its delicious quality. It's your strategic reserve for when unexpected guests drop by, or simply when you crave something delicious, homemade, and comforting on a cold winter's day. It's a cherished tradition, proven and passed down through generations. Who reigns supreme in the world of preserves? Of course, there are some undeniable classics. Vegetables that seem almost destined for pickling. And topping that list, of course, is the mighty cucumber. It's inside a jar, infused with the vibrant flavors of dill, garlic, and horseradish, that it truly reaches its peak. Crispy, perfectly briny, or delightfully sweet and sour, it's the ideal snack and a perfect addition to any meal. Next up, we have tomatoes. Canning transforms them from a simple garden vegetable into a versatile stand-alone dish. Whether salted, pickled, preserved in their own juice, or spiced up with bell peppers and carrots, the variations are endless, and each one is a delight. And let's not forget about cabbage. Sauerkraut isn't just a simple preserve, it's a true superfood, a powerhouse of vitamin C. And quick-pickled cabbage can be a lifesaver when you need a vibrant, fresh salad in a flash. Finally, we have beets. Pickled beets are a ready-made base for vinaigrette, borscht, or simply a delicious side dish. In this method, vinegar, salt, and sugar aren't just mere preservatives. They are true culinary artists, transforming humble vegetables into entirely new masterpieces with vibrant, unforgettable flavors. However, as we delve into the world of home canning, there's one crucial word to keep in mind: safety. We're dealing with hermetically sealed jars where, if things aren't done correctly, some very unfriendly microorganisms can thrive. Our main ally in this battle? Acidity. It all comes down to pH levels. Most harmful bacteria, including the one that causes botulism, simply cannot survive in an acidic environment. That's why naturally high-acid foods like tomatoes are relatively easy and safe to can. A basic sterilization of jars and lids is usually sufficient, and your tomato juice or pickled tomatoes will be perfectly fine. However, low-acid foods like green beans, corn, mushrooms, or pumpkin present a much greater challenge. Simply boiling them in a vinegar marinade might not be enough to ensure complete safety. To can them plain, without a large amount of added vinegar, they require sterilization under high pressure and temperature. This can only be achieved with a special piece of equipment, a pressure canner. If you don't have one, it's much safer to freeze these vegetables, dry them, or preserve them as part of mixed salads that contain a high proportion of tomatoes or vinegar. Always remember, home canning is serious business, and safety must always be your top priority. Now, let's take a look at our vegetables and decide what to do with each one. We'll start with the undisputed king of any garden, the mighty tomato. This versatile veggie is a true all-rounder when it comes to preserving, because virtually every method works perfectly for it. Want something quick and easy? Freeze them. Don't freeze whole tomatoes, though. They'll turn to mush after thawing. But if you puree them or simply chop them into cubes before freezing, you'll have a perfect base for winter soups, sauces, or lasagna. It's an excellent way to capture that pure, fresh tomato flavor. Craving an intense, concentrated flavor? Then drying is your best bet. Sun-dried tomatoes, as we've discussed, are simply incredible. They'll elevate any pizza, pasta dish, or bruschetta. And if your heart desires a classic, dependable approach, then canning is, of course, the answer. From pickled cherry tomatoes and tomatoes in their own juice to lecho and ajica, the recipes are endless. The tomato is so incredibly versatile that the method you choose simply depends on your desired outcome. A taste of fresh flavor, a concentrated punch, or a ready-made appetizer. Now, cucumbers are a different story altogether compared to versatile tomatoes. They have a very specific purpose and a rather stubborn nature. You could say a cucumber recognizes only one true path, and that path leads directly into a jar, either brined or pickled. As we've already established, freezing them is an utterly pointless endeavor. Due to their high water content, after thawing, all you'll get is a sad, watery imitation of a vegetable. Drying isn't an option either. It's hard to even picture a dried cucumber, and its flavor, to put it mildly, would be an acquired taste. Grassy and uninspired. However, in a jar, cucumbers truly shine. This is where the magic happens, transforming them into that legendary snack. Crunchy, infused with aromatic spices, perfectly salty, or delightfully spicy. That's exactly how we love them. Brining or pickling, that's their true calling. So, if you have a bountiful cucumber harvest, don't even think twice. Go ahead and get out your jars, dill, and garlic. Other preservation methods simply won't be able to fully unlock and preserve their famous crunch and fresh flavor. Let's talk about a truly vibrant and versatile vegetable, the bell pepper. This ingredient can easily be called the ultimate champion for freezing. It handles cold so incredibly well that even the most novice cook can master it. What's its biggest advantage? Bell peppers are one of the very few vegetables that require absolutely no pre-blanching. Yep, you heard that right. No fussing with boiling water and then ice baths. You simply wash it, remove the seeds, chop it however you prefer, into strips, cubes, or rings, and that's it. Bag it up, squeeze out the air, and send it straight to the freezer. Once thawed, it will naturally lose its crisp texture, so it won't be suitable for fresh salads. However, it will perfectly retain its vibrant color, rich flavor, and distinct aroma. Frozen bell pepper is the ideal ready-to-use ingredient for hot meals. During the winter, you can add it to stews, soups, and sauces, make pasta or pizza with it, or simply stir-fry it with meat. It's incredibly convenient and saves a huge amount of time. So, what do you do when you're faced with a mountain of fresh, aromatic herbs from your garden or the market? Bundles of dill, parsley, cilantro, or basil wilt so quickly that you often don't even get to use half of them before they spoil. And letting such vibrant flavors go to waste feels like a real crime. Fortunately, there are two excellent ways to preserve these concentrated summer flavors. The first and most popular method is freezing, but there's a trick to it. Don't freeze whole bunches of herbs. Instead, it's best to finely chop them and use standard ice cube trays. Fill the compartments with the chopped herbs. Add a small amount of water, or even better, melted butter or olive oil. Then freeze. You'll end up with aromatic cubes that are perfect for adding to soups, sauces, or straight into the pan when frying potatoes. The second method is, of course, drying. This will slightly alter the herb's aroma, making it more pungent and concentrated, similar to store-bought dried seasonings. Once dried, simply crush the herbs and store them in an airtight jar. This way, you'll always have your own homemade natural herb blend ready for any dish. The choice is yours. For fresh flavor, freeze them. For a more intense, spiced aroma, dry them. Now let's talk about a vegetable that can be a bit tricky. Zucchini and its close relatives are incredibly prolific growers in any home garden. But when it comes to preserving them, especially by freezing, they can present a real challenge. And the main reason, as you've probably guessed, is their incredibly high water content. If you simply chop fresh zucchini into cubes and toss them into the freezer, you risk ending up with a watery, mushy mess after thawing. Their texture will be completely ruined, but that doesn't mean you can't freeze them. You just need to prepare them correctly to combat all that excess moisture. The most effective method is to grate the zucchini on a coarse grater. Then, lightly salt them and let them sit for 15 to 20 minutes. After that, thoroughly squeeze out all the released juice, ideally by hand. This now much drier zucchini mass can confidently be portioned into freezer bags and frozen. In winter, it will make excellent fritters, casseroles, or vegetable spreads. You're simply getting rid of all that excess water beforehand, ensuring your frozen zucchini turns out perfectly. But what about those hidden treasures growing underground? Root vegetables like carrots, beets, or celeriac are also great for preserving, but they do require a special approach. Their dense structure handles cold beautifully, but only with proper preparation. Simply washing a whole carrot and tossing it into the freezer is a recipe for disaster. After thawing, it will turn mushy and lose its natural sweetness. The key is pre-treatment. You'll need to clean them, then chop or grate them into the shapes you plan to use later. Cubes, sticks, slices, or shredded. And the next crucial step, as you might already know, is blanching. This involves a quick dip in boiling water for a couple of minutes, followed immediately by an ice bath. This technique preserves their vibrant color, especially important for bright carrots and beets, and stops enzyme activity. After this preparation, you'll have a ready-to-use ingredient that can be tossed directly into soups, borscht, or stews. Beyond freezing, root vegetables also make fantastic canned salads and hearty soup bases. That beet, carrot, and tomato borscht base, for example, is a real lifesaver that will save you a ton of time during the winter months. When it comes to food preservation, mushrooms are truly in a league of their own, almost mystical in their allure. They aren't like any vegetable and demand a unique approach. Your success here hinges on your ultimate goal. Do you want to maximize their unique aroma, or simply have a convenient ingredient ready to go? If your primary aim is to capture and even intensify that distinct, deep woodland aroma, that earthy essence, then drying is your only option. No other method can concentrate mushroom flavor quite like it. White mushrooms, like porcini or chanterelles, once strung up and dried, transform into a true flavor bomb. In winter, simply grinding a couple of dried caps into a fine powder can elevate a humble potato soup into an exquisite, restaurant-quality dish. However, if convenience is your priority, and you want pre-prepped mushrooms readily available for frying or a classic goulien, then freezing is the way to go. But there's a crucial detail. Never ever freeze raw mushrooms. Their porous structure will become unpleasantly rubbery once thawed. To prevent this, you should always pre-cook your mushrooms, either by boiling them briefly, or even better, by sautéing them until all their excess moisture has evaporated. Only then, once cooled completely, should they be transferred to the freezer. This ensures they retain a pleasing texture. Now let's debunk one of the most popular and dangerous myths circulating online. It goes something like this. If I refreeze it quickly, nothing bad will happen. Oh, but it will. And I want you to remember this once and for all. Absolutely do not refreeze vegetables, or any other food for that matter. Let's understand why. When you first freeze something, ice crystals form inside, damaging its cellular structure. When you thaw the product, these damaged cells release their moisture, creating a perfect breeding ground for bacteria on the surface. Their growth starts almost instantly. Now imagine sending this microbe party back into the freezer. You're not killing the bacteria, you're just putting them to sleep. The next time you thaw it, they'll wake up, often in even greater numbers. The result? You end up with a product that not only has a terrible mushy texture and lost flavor, but is also potentially dangerous to your health. So the rule is simple. Once thawed, cook and eat it immediately. No second chances for the freezer. So, you've picked the right method, prepped your veggies, and think you're done. Not quite. There's one more crucial, or if you prefer, key step that can either make or break all your hard work, ensuring your produce stays fresh and delicious. That step is proper packaging. When it comes to freezing, your main enemy is air. More specifically, it's oxygen, which leads to what we call freezer burn. These are those whitish, dried-out spots you see on food. They pop up when your packaging isn't tightly sealed. To prevent this, use special heavy-duty freezer bags with a zip seal, or opt for vacuum seal bags. Your goal is to remove as much air as possible from the bag before sealing it. The tighter the packaging hugs your food, the better it will preserve. For dried goods, you're up against different enemies: moisture and light. Storing dried herbs or mushrooms in a fabric bag in direct light. Bad idea. They'll quickly become damp and lose their potent aroma. The ideal solution for these is a clean, dry glass jar with a tightly sealing lid, and make sure that jar is stored in a dark kitchen cupboard. Proper packaging isn't just a minor detail. It's the guarantee of quality for your homemade preserves. And finally, once you've mastered all three basic methods, it's time to move on to the next level. True culinary creativity. The pinnacle of food preservation lies in combining these techniques. This is where you go beyond simply following recipes and start experimenting, creating your own unique flavors and textures. What do I mean? For instance, take cherry tomatoes. You could first partially dry them or oven dehydrate them in the oven. They won't become completely crispy like chips, but will just lose some moisture, intensely concentrating their flavor and sweetness. After that, you can pack them into a jar, add a sprig of rosemary, a couple of garlic cloves, and cover them all with a good quality olive oil. What's the result? You've expertly used both partial drying and oil preservation. The outcome isn't just a basic ingredient. It's a ready-made, gourmet delicacy, truly restaurant level. Or, for another example, you could sauté mushrooms and then freeze them. Experiment. Combine methods. Add your favorite spices. This is how true culinary masterpieces are born, ready to delight you and your loved ones all winter long. It seems simple enough. Pick a method, prep your veggies, and you're done. But here's the crucial secret many overlook, one that changes everything. It's not just about choosing between freezing or canning. It's about three invisible enemies of your harvest: oxygen, light, and enzymes. Essentially, all our preservation methods are simply different ways to combat this trio. Freezing isn't about killing. It's about suspended animation. It puts enzymes to sleep, slowing down their destructive work. But as soon as the food thaws, they wake up with renewed vigor. Vacuum sealing during freezing is our fight against oxygen, which oxidizes and spoils the food. Drying is total dehydration. We deprive microorganisms of the water they need to survive, concentrating the flavor, and an airtight jar in a dark cupboard protects against light and, again, oxygen. Canning, on the other hand, is a chemical attack. Vinegar and salt create an environment where bacteria simply cannot survive. Understanding this simple principle, battling these three enemies, transforms you from a mere preparer into a true strategist of flavor and nutritional preservation. You'll no longer blindly follow a recipe. You'll understand why every step matters. So, to sum it up, there's no single perfect preservation method. For each vegetable, there's a best method that will preserve its unique flavor, texture, and nutrients. Freezing for speed and retaining freshness, drying for concentrating aroma and flavor, canning for long-term storage, and creating new flavor profiles. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope the world of home preservation has become clearer and more exciting for you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new, helpful guides. Now a question for you. Which vegetable gives you the most trouble when preserving? Let me know in the comments below, and perhaps your question will become the topic of our next video.